Hi and welcome to A Drummer's Guide to, the podcast all about the things that it takes to be a professional musician. My name is Emily Davies. I've been a drummer for the last 26 years, professional for the last 17, and helping other musicians navigate the professional space since 2018. And that is why I'm here with you today. So I hope you're having a good day. So today I wanted to talk about something that it's come up recently actually with one of my coaching clients, and I just thought it was a really interesting kind of subject to cover because I realised how important it is and how difficult it is, and I just thought, well, if I speak about this, hopefully it will sort of resonate with someone that may be finding this very tough, but it's very understandable, I think is the right term. And the thing that I want to talk about is this idea of making space, because I believe that it's very easy to kind of fill up your time, and I certainly have been guilty of this in the past. I'm getting a bit better. Well, yeah, I definitely got better, and then I've only been getting better since then. But it's very easy to fill up your time when you're trying to strive for a goal. But sometimes you forget to actually make some space for the most suited path, should we say, making space for opportunities that maybe you may not even notice because you're so busy filling up all of your time with various things just to kind of be doing things, to be busy. And whilst there is a lot of benefit to that, definitely, I just think about if I went back to when I was younger and how I would do things. That's one of the things that I would do differently. I think I did it well in some ways, and I will explain as we go, but in other ways I think that I definitely maybe not wasted time, but certainly overworked myself in areas that maybe were not actually beneficial to me, and actually there were other things going on with me mentally that were the reason that I carried on with those things, which I may touch upon, but maybe I won't. I don't know. We'll see how we go, see how I feel about it. But anyway, this idea of making space. Now, I think that there are three kind of main overarching places that I feel that it is useful to make space in your career, life, whatever, to create these opportunities to make sure that you're in the right place. And actually I was going to start with one of them, but I've just realized actually starting in another area would be much more logical. So the first the first place to create space would be the first space to create space. I'm going to be saying a lot of things like that today. So anyway, the first area is definitely the mental side of things, because I feel like when you're working with, let's say, either lots of different artists, or let's even say not that, maybe it's like one band that you really, really committed your time to. And actually this is a really common thread that I'm finding with a lot of my clients, like the majority, I'd say probably 80%, is that when they come to me, they're very much have been playing in one outfit consistently, often a covers or a functions band, which there's nothing wrong with that. I think there's great not just benefits to playing in covers bands and stuff, but joy, and some people are really drawn to that kind of unit of the same people that they can come back to week after week, and they really enjoy it, and that's really great. However, I think that, and I can only obviously speak from my personal experience, for me, I found that very constricting, because I knew that the goals that I had were to be playing with, named artists, to be going on tour, to be touring worldwide, to be recording on albums, things like that. And I knew intellectually that in order to do that, I would need to get my name out there as much as I could, get my name, my reputation out there as a player, as being professional, as being reliable, of being able to do the job, all these things. And I knew by doing that I had to play with lots of people. So therefore, by playing in one band and committing to one band, it really, it felt restrictive to me. It felt like by saying yes to one band, although that would give me stability financially, and I'll come on to that in a minute, it actually constricted the opportunities I could take, not because necessarily they weren't coming in, because they were, but because I am the person that I am. If I've committed to something, I will often, if I've committed to something, I'm doing it, basically. And I multiple times passed up opportunities because I didn't want to be disloyal to my covers band, my functions band. Is that right? Is that wrong? I don't know. I leave you to decide. I think there's, my own integrity. I feel good that I always stuck to what I agreed to do. But did my career suffer? Yes. 100%, absolutely. And there are a handful of times where I chose the other option. Of course, I didn't leave them in the lurch. Of course, I made sure that the gig was covered and everyone was happy as best as I could. But I love that even now I have to kind of prerequisite that. But anyway, and I did take those opportunities and they were wonderful, and they were the right thing for me, for my career, 100%. So I think that, and again, that is very personal to me, and what I want to sort of swing back round to is, I think that it's really useful to create the mental space just to define what it is you want. Because if it is that you want stability to play in a covers band, let's just say stability, right? Let's say that. So that's your primary goal. I want to have a stable career as a musician. Okay, well, being in a function band that is gigging out every weekend is a really good starting point. It's a really, really good starting point if stability is the number one thing. You actually don't mind how you create that stable career, and your goals will be different to someone else's. However, if you're like me and you want to be on the road and doing all that stuff, that is actually detrimental. And not only that, but mentally, I'm convinced, I have no data to back this up whatsoever. It is purely speculation. I'm convinced that by being committed to one band, that you, how can I put this? Give off an energy that you're not open to other things. Like, if there's friction, if you know that someone comes to you with an opportunity and you know that you're going to have to let people down, I think that there is some sort of energy that you project or put out there that kind of just makes people go, bit off. Don't know why, but no, not going to ask her to do that. And opportunities don't even get presented to you because of that. So, I think just giving yourself that mental space to really recognize what the goal is, what your goal is. I've done many an episode on sort of defining what success is to you, so please go check out those episodes. They may resonate with you, they may sort of help you, but yeah, I think by mentally giving yourself that space, I think is very important. So that's one thing, and that's kind of the internal place to start, I think, personally. The next one, it ain't sexy, but hey, it's life. We've got to do things like this, and we've got to address this, which is the financial space. Because at the end of the day, we've all got outgoings, we've all got overheads, some of us got families to support, we've all got bills. So therefore, the reality is there needs to be some sort of financial buffer that will give you that space as well, so that you can take on opportunities that are maybe out of line with what you're used to. And if, say, again, let's come back to this covers band thing, let's say that is taking up all of your time, because that's what this is about. Essentially, it's about making space, as in making space for energy, for time to take on opportunities. That's what you're looking for. It's kind of like giving yourself the opportunity to invest in things with your time, with your energy, not necessarily monetarily, but let's face it, that's part of it. Part of it is having a buffer to make sure that you are able to do that. Whether that means taking on only just enough work to cover your overheads, which is how I did it, or whether it's saving up a pot of money for to give you 3 months, 6 months, a year's worth of living expenses, so you can literally just go out there and just go for it full on. However you want to work it, there needs to be, realistically, there needs to be that part of it. And like I say, for me, that was playing in bands. It was living very frugally, definitely, and it was, yeah, playing in covers bands. But again, it wasn't necessarily with one covers band. I was depping for lots of people because it kind of still allowed me to have that flexibility to be able to say yes or no to things, rather than just having all these dates in my diary, and any opportunity that came in, it was like, oh, only if it fit with what I've already agreed to, which doesn't put me in the best headspace. So realistically, I think, it's worth just stating that, like, there needs to be a financial element to this that gives you that space, that peace of mind. Finances are a huge stress. They are, like, it is just how it is. So yeah, I'd say have a look at that. This may sound so obvious, and I apologise if it is. I don't mean this to sound sort of condescending if it does or anything like that, but the most obvious thing that I find I didn't do for years. Well, did I? No, that's not true actually. I did do this, but I just didn't pay attention to after I did it. I would sort of do it every 6 months or something, and then I'd just be like, I think I would omit the reality of what I was spending, but it is to just sit down and literally write out what all your outgoings are, like minimum outgoings, like find out what they are first of all, and then how can you cut back on them so you can be living the most frugally that you can, purely so that you can be open to, I should say, the most opportunities possible, basically. So that is what I would say. And again, I think these two in tandem just then give you the space to be able to physically say yes to things. And what that means is then once you feel like, right, I know where I'm at financially, I know how much time I can put into this. And like I say, whether it is 3 months, 6 months, a year, longer, or just enough to kind of like just keep going. Because that's how I used to always see finances. It was like every time I made X amount, I was at a number in my head. As I say, sometimes I spent over that, but there was always an aim of like a minimum, and I definitely had months that were more tight than others, should we say. But yeah, once I hit that number, it was like, cool, I get to do this for another month. Right, let's get going. Let's get going. It was constant motion. It was constant momentum. That was part of the deal for me. Like, that was very important, just creating that momentum and keep going. So yeah, I think that those two things, and it coming from a place of initially, right, where do I want to be, and looking internally about what you want to do, because all of us have different lives. I know that we all see so much on like social media and stuff like that, and we think, oh, like, you get an idea of what someone's life is like. You're never going to know unless you're actually in it. You're never going to know all the ins and outs, the bits that you don't see, and all of that. And also what those people's ultimate goals are. They're going to be completely different to yours and mine. Absolutely. There's no shadow of doubt. And they're always changing. So, and they should always change. I also believe that, I realised that for a very long time, my goals were the same as what they were when I was 14 years old. And I don't think that a 37-year-old should be living their life based on the goals of a 14-year-old. I don't think that's correct. I don't know about you, but that seems weird to me. And in fact, in my therapy, trust me, recently, there's some wild other things that I've realised. But anyway, I ain't going into that. I ain't ready for that. I will at some point, but today is not the day. So anyway, those two things in tandem, I think, will create the third important part of this, which is the physical space. And I'm not talking, running away from everyone. That's not what I'm talking about. Just the physical space to explore the career that you're after. And what that looks like to me, in my opinion, is essentially making the space to create opportunities for yourself, and allowing yourself to have the time and the energy to devote to really going after what you want to go after, like seriously, not just kind of ish, not kind of half-baked. It's kind of, I know that there's a lot more that goes into it in terms of fears. Obviously we all have, well, I say we all, the majority of people that I come across, myself included, have a fear of failure. We want to do a good job. Maybe we want to feel acknowledged or respected by people. Maybe we just have an inherent want to do a good job. I don't know. Like, there are many things that are going to sort of inform that. But that's one thing that to work through, I suppose. But to be able to give yourself that time and energy to invest in your career, I think is so important, and if not important, essential more than anything. And what I would do is kind of like, if I were in your shoes, if I was back in my shoes back in the day, I would, and it's one thing that I feel I did very well, actually, I will say, and that was finding opportunities that really like push you all of the time, as much as you can. And it's going to feel uncomfortable, obviously. Things that when you read it, say it's an ad and you think, oh, I'm not sure I can do that, I think that's something to head towards, if it's in line with your ultimate goal, obviously. Also sort of like surrounding yourself with people that not only are better than you musically, but also that are living the life that you want to live. Because this is another thing. This is a huge thing that, again, it's a reoccurring pattern with multiple students, and there will be a few that are listening to this, and you know who you are. There is a very, in my experience, again, this is just my experience, I think that there is a very big difference between the mindset of, say, a covers band musician who just does music at the weekend, who has a regular 9 to 5, might have wants and dreams to, be a professional musician, but essentially they see those weekend gigs as kind of just a bit of extra money, a bit of fun, a bit of pocket money, whatever. That mentality is so far and beyond different to someone that is doing this full time. And that's not to say that those full-time musicians aren't also doing those gigs. Those two people can coexist on the same covers gig 100%, but their approach is the difference, to me at least. Because look, there are some fantastic musicians that are doing covers gigs just at the weekends. They've got a regular 9 to 5, and that's kind of their fun time, their playtime. So it's not an ability thing, but it is an approach thing, it is an attitude thing, it is how they just approach everything about it, really. And it is hilarious to me, because the thing that I find most interesting, fascinating, it genuinely makes me laugh. And it's more the older I got, because obviously the older I got, the more experience I got, and the more I recognised what was going on. It's those that are the least experienced professionally, should we say, that often act out the most and often cause the most issues in terms of like conflict within a band, within the band and the venue, the band and the audience. They're the ones that kick up a fuss. It's so interesting to me, because all the professional musicians, they just do their thing, they love it, they're into it. Like, I can't think of a single professional musician on a covers gig that I've ever done that has ever not just gone with the flow. And I think it comes down definitely to insecurity. I think people that are not experienced feel that they have to act a certain way. They want to assert their maybe importance in the situation, or they're acting how they think people should act like that. But anyway, my point is, if you're surrounding yourself with people like that, where throwing their teddies out of the pram, sorry, I'm thinking of a very specific gig and person that actually I haven't thought about for years. It was this one thing. I can't even remember their name. I don't even remember the name of the band. I remember the venue. I don't remember where it was. I just remember what it looked like. And I just remember being so confused. And I remember talking to them and being like, oh, right, so, like, do you do this full time? And oh, no. And I was like, oh, okay, all right, fair enough. And actually, they were throwing their teddies out the pram before we'd actually played. And then we played, and I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. And look, I ain't got a problem with, we're all on our own journey in terms of, like, learning our instrument and all that sort of stuff. But I do find it interesting that those that are the least experienced, definitely, are I mean, it makes sense. They're the least professional, but they think that that is being professional, if that makes sense, when it's just not. It's not that deep. Like, I think that's the thing. It ain't that deep. Music, like, no one's gonna die. It's not ideal if you can't do a perfect job, but, like, honestly, like, no one's gonna die, so it's fine. It's fine. But anyway, what was my point on this? Oh, yeah. So basically, I would rather that you're not surrounding yourself with people like that. And I think it's a control thing as well, because I also often hear of these bands where their band leaders will say to musicians who are trying to do the professional thing, like, you can only play in our band. You can't dep out gigs, you have to commit, la 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 la. And I understand, it's hard running a band and you don't want to be having deps in and all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, if that person saying that is not doing this full time, and I can almost hazard a guess and say if you're in that position, that is probably the case, then I just don't think that that's a very good match. And I think it's worth being around people that are doing this full time, who do understand that, sometimes you will have to dep things out. And there's no bad blood about that. It's just like, mate, that's fine. As long as you sort out a dep, I'm cool. Like, just make sure they can do the job. Honestly, it's all good. Have a good time. I look forward to seeing you when you're back and hearing about your adventures. Like, that is the difference. And again, it's a control thing. It's an experience thing. And the other thing, like I say, I for some reason, I don't know why I always had this in my head about sort of like surrounding yourself with people that are already doing the thing. Just to sort of like normalize it, I think is a really useful thing. But also, there is something about playing with other musicians that are more experienced than you, and it does just make you step up your game, and it does make you, again, normalize what is a higher standard of playing, of performance, of dealing with people, of communication. It doesn't mean that it's not hard. It's awful. It's awful. It's so hard. It's terrifying. I have had so many moments of like, can I do this? Breaking down, being in tears. Not at the time, actually, maybe once at the time, or maybe twice. And just having to find a way to rise to the occasion and hope that my insecurities don't manifest in a way that is kind of what's the word, like, comes across wrong, if you know what I mean. Because I think we all have that, like, when we're insecure, you can say things in a way that are not meant in any negative way, but they can be perceived that way. This is so weird, but this is what I'm finding with my boxing. So interesting. I haven't spoken about this for a little while, my boxing thing. If you don't know, I've been doing it for like a year now. Oh my God, I love it so much. Apart from the getting punched in the face thing. And it's not so much the actual getting punched in the face, it's more the embarrassment of getting punched in the face. And this is what I mean. To me, when I get punched in the face, I feel embarrassed, I feel insecure, I feel like I should be better than this. And then I end up kind of like beating myself up. And what I didn't realise until fairly recently is sometimes that kind of emanates out in the way that I say things sometimes, and I'm like, oh, I didn't realise that I do that. Like, that's not okay. That's not how I want to conduct myself. Look, I ain't perfect, that's fine, but I always strive to be better, obviously, don't we all? We can't not, but yeah, not perfect, definitely not perfect. But anyway, I think that, and again, that comes down to being surrounded by people that are better than me, who are literally, when I tell you, it feels like they're just playing with me, because they're just like bopping me on my face or whatever else, and I'm like, all right, I get it, I'm not very good, you're very good, okay? I get very frustrated, should we say. But it's interesting because it's obviously how I used to feel with music, and there was definitely elements of that, and it would always come out as frustration to myself. Definitely, I was definitely much too hard on myself, but it always consistently made me improve my skill set. Definitely. And I think, and it was a very, like I said, I don't know why it was such a conscious decision, but every situation, bar a few, there were a handful that weren't this, but bar a few, every situation I was going into it looking for a new experience, skill set, I'm just thinking, like, even from my very first band, so Shameless Frauds, the reason that I got together with that band, which was a school band, shout out Broomfield School, was there was this Battle of the Bands thing, and it was like, cool, that means we can go and play. And then we ended up playing a few gigs locally, and then I thought, right, I was the one arranging everything, and it was just, I don't know, it just didn't feel right anymore. So I was like, right, I'm going to get in a band outside of school. I need to go further afield. So I did. At 15, I think it was a week after my 15th birthday, joined a heavy metal band who was playing around London. So that was great. And then I sort of moved forward from that, and then moved on from that after that, and it just kept going. And I just kept seeking out new experiences with new groups of people in different areas of music and different areas geographically, and it just kind of grew from there. But I'm pretty certain that every situation involved me being with at least one person that was definitely more experienced than me, and just trying to learn from that person, not just musically, because sometimes it was like, hey, have you heard this album? You need to listen to this album, and that would be fantastic. There are certain albums that I will forever link to certain people, and be thankful for them for showing me those things. But yeah, it wasn't just that sort of like experience. Excuse me, just dribbling, it's fine. It wasn't just the experience musically, but it was a mindset thing of how they saw music, how they conducted themselves, how they lived their lives, how they survived as a musician, because that's what it often feels like. It feels like just surviving month to month. And sort of, I do feel like the longer that you do this, the more buffer that you get of that getting to do it kind of feeling of like, oh, I've gotten away with it for another month, so I can keep going. I think the longer you go, or at least this is my experience, the longer that I go, the more buffer that I get. So I just get to do more of this. And I get to, for me personally, I get to pivot into other areas. If I didn't have this mentality of actually either making space or not being scared of space, there's something, I might have mentioned this a couple of episodes ago, I'm not sure. There's this concept called the fertile void, which, look it up, because honestly I don't know what it is properly, but it is this idea that if there is a void of time, things are still happening. And for me, actually, maybe it's not a good example. For me, I always would take those moments of void, and I would make them fertile. So things like when I left the darkness, I knew that was going to be a very quiet period of time. And I was like, right, what can I do to make this beneficial to me, to my career? And I spent my time kind of just, cultivating, should we say. And that's what ultimately led me to start doing the remote recording thing. And then, in fact, so the fertile void thing, so this podcast came from a moment of void where I was like, oh my God, I've got this big space in my life now. What do I do? And it led me to starting this, which was fantastic. It's the same with coaching, same thing. There was a period of time that I was like, okay, I need to invest my time in, all of a sudden, the Voice Kids had finished, Kim Wilde had finished. I was just like, now what? And I was like, well, now I get to actually make a choice. Where do I want to be? And I've pivoted into doing this coaching thing. Turns out it's one of the most fulfilling things I've ever done, and I absolutely adore it. It's like so good. It's so good. So I think that just being able to create space within your life, mentally, financially, physically, and then using that space in the best way possible is so important. But what I will say is that it's very scary to create that space and to step away from things that maybe aren't serving you in the way that they could be, if that makes sense. And I acknowledge that is a terrifying thing, because you're kind of betting on yourself, and if you haven't done that before, it can be very daunting and very like, oh my goodness, like, can I do this? Is this a thing? But I'd say that, who told me this? I think it was my cousin who said to me, look, the reality is, if this was easy, oh no, I remember what he told me. He told me, no one said this was going to be easy. Which now I'm like, wow, so aggro. Like, I was like 12 when he told me that. He's a bass player. But anyway, I prefer this. If it were easy, everyone would be doing it. And it's those hard actions, the scary ones, where people turn back and they go, oh, no, I'll just stay where I am. I'm okay, actually. And then it's only 10, 15 years down the line, they're sat at a bar going, I used to be a musician, or I wish I'd have tried harder, or I wish I'd done this or that or the other. And obviously we're all in different parts of our life stages as well. You know, some of us will be in our early 20s, maybe without a partner, or, you know, with no sort of dependables on us, should we say, no kids or anything like that. You can be fairly fluid. If you're in that situation right now, oh my goodness, take it with both hands. That's what I did. You know, if you've got a family, obviously it's going to look different for you. But the point is, I think, just taking a step back and reflecting on the space you could create to get closer to those goals, I think is really beneficial. It's really, really beneficial. It's something that I do fairly regularly. I think I actually do it more than I realise. I don't think I do it that consciously, but I'm always just assessing what, probably actually too much, if I'm honest. I think I do it too much, but yeah, just noticing, like, right, is this good for me? Is this where I want to be? If not, make a change. It might be hard, but with space comes opportunity, because, like, here's the top and bottom of it. You can't do everything. We only have so much energy. We only have so much time. So how are you going to cram in more opportunities when the space literally doesn't exist? You have to make it yourself. You can't just, you know, coast along and hope that, you know, it'll all work out. Let me tell you, it doesn't. It doesn't. You know, even when you're getting asked to do tours, do you reckon that they all fit together nicely? No, they never. In fact, in fairness, another one of my students, I will say, literally, we spoke last week, and he said to me, he was like, yeah, so it's all worked out, because this is happening here, and then that stops, and then that's starting literally the next week, and then this, and then that, and then those gigs don't interfere with any of the gigs that I already have booked in. They all just slot in nicely. And I was like, dude, this never happens. So maybe it does happen occasionally. Let me tell you, it's never happened to me. Absolutely not. But equally with that, I also know that I need space between jobs. I need recovery. I need recalibration. I need refocus, because I am the one-track focus mind person. When I'm doing something, I'm doing it. Nothing else is in my brain. I need nothing else to be in my brain. I definitely can compartmentalize, but task switching or focusing on those different compartments, very, very draining for me. Very, very draining. So I have to be very, very aware of that. And again, that's personally how I work. So it's also worth just noticing how you work too. So anyway, I apologise. This is a lot more rambly than I thought it would be. I just thought it'd be an interesting subject, because I haven't really spoken about it in such a direct way. And it really, I don't know, like I say, it just keeps coming up recently. I don't know what's going on. But just think of it like this, you know, our time, our life, see it as blocks of time and energy that we have. And if all your blocks are full, you can't, not only can you not say yes to new opportunities, but also you're not going to see it. These blocks are in front of your face. You're just doing your thing. You're just, you know, going through life, doing the things that you've always done. But if they're not working for you, take one of those blocks out. You don't need them all. And having a bit of space, yes, terrifying, for me at least, very terrifying, but actually really, really, it really pays off in the end. But again, be very purposeful as well with it, not just general, like, I'm just going to take this out of my life and I'm just going to go play video games. Now, as wonderful as that would be, try to be a bit more direct with the goals and just putting them in line with whatever your goals are. Anyway, I hope that some of this made sense to you. I hope it did, because it feels like I've just rambled about nothing. But anyway, I hope you're having a good day wherever you are, wherever you're up to. If you have enjoyed this episode, then please do feel free to like, share and subscribe to this podcast. If you'd like to leave a review, I'd really appreciate it. That would be awesome. If you'd like to support this podcast on Patreon to get early access to episodes, you can. If you go to patreon.com/Emma Drums. And if you'd like to connect with me, reach out for some one-on-one coaching, you can do over on Instagram. If you go to instagram.com/HeyEmilyDrums, that's instagram.com/HeyEmilyDrums. I am still obsessed with how much I like my new Instagram handle. The last one I hated, this one I like. But anyway, I hope you're having a great day, and I look forward to chatting at you, I should say. I'm so sorry this is so one-sided. Get in touch if you want this to be more two-sided. Honestly, I would love to hear your feedback, and if you have any ideas for episodes, if you have anything that you'd like me to talk about, please do reach out over on Instagram too. But anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you. Have a great day, and I will see you next week for another subject. All right, bye. It's